everybody, welcome back here for another edition of Make City Make Spence, where we talk all things Detroit City FC, men's team and women's team, the awesome and the not so awesome, um, you know, continuation of things, I suppose. Garret Comat's here joining us. It is Monday, June 16th, year of our Lord 2025, recording this. Not alone as always. Joining first off, the hardest working supporter in the Detroit City FC game, producer extraordinaire, man of many talents, man who wears many hats. Adam Hernandez, how are you this evening?
I do have many hats. I've got
You
one,
have a lot
two,
of
three,
hats.
four, five, six.
So many hats.
I think I have like 12.
I was
New
expecting
era.
more.
I might have more as a quick count. But I ordered two. I told you this the other day. I ordered two new Tigers 5950 hats that should be here hopefully in the next week or so because, yeah, I needed to update my Tiger hats because they're getting old. They're getting old. But when those 5950s get old, they get gross and they get tight and they just don't look good. So I'm looking forward to those coming in.
Hell yeah. And as always, the namesake of Make City Make Spence, architect of the Words About Shapes Patreon, which everyone can subscribe to for $3 a month. Keeper of the Pizza Minds, uh, glorified cat father, lover of all things cats. Sean Spence, my dear friend, how are you this evening?
I'm quite well, thank you. I am I am being a father of cats. We just talked about it, I guess, so that's probably why it's on your mind. Pony is right now has taken a hair tie into the kitchen and is batting it about, and then he does the thing where he kind of snaps it, and it snaps up and hits him in the face, and then he pretends like it's attacking him, and he'll freak out, and you know he's about to do that. So yeah, that's what's happening in my life right now. It's exciting being me. Yeah, I'm good. What were we talking about?
So you're talking
Cats.
about right now, yeah, we're talking about cats and being exciting, but we have to now transition into the topic that hasn't been exciting. Um, and continues to not be exciting. And that is the Detroit City FC men's team, who coming into their matchup, which took place a couple days ago at Segra Field in Leesburg County, Virginia, at Loudoun United this past Saturday. We're going in with a 7-match winless streak in all competitions after what we've regarded to as their worst match of the season at Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and according and how we feel about it, maybe the worst match in club history. At Loudoun, we saw some signs of attack. We saw some goals, two of them, in fact. Unfortunately, individual mistakes and a very easy defense to get through happened, and Loudoun United comes out 3-2 winners, and the winless streak for Detroit City FC's men's side is now 8 matches in all competitions. So let's get into the match. Sean, I'll have you start, and then Adam, when you can.
Uh, well, I mean, it was not great. Loudon have they've kind of surprised everybody this year by playing kind of a stout 4-4-2 and pressing pretty well, and they've had a couple of um they got a couple of breaks early in the season, but more lately they've been kind of grinding out results and staying relevant despite kind of losing that new car smell they had in the opening part of the season. And that we saw a bit of that on Saturday. They you know they took us we had a very difficult time moving the ball up the field. Um, you Most of the way we were able to progress into the final third was by Ben dropping deep in a channel to show for the ball near midfield. And uh, Connor, who was kind of, I think, there as the kind of reference point um, up top. I think he had 12 touches all game, maybe not that many. It was, Connor was not part of the game on offense, and we showed very little ability to move from possession into attack for long stretches. When we did, we were able to slice through them and get decent chances at goal a couple of different times. I'm trying to remember how many shots we had, like six, seven, and most of those were decent shots that at least needed saving. Um, so I mean, if what we intend is to be counterattacking side that you know can't possess the ball deep, but doesn't really try to, and instead tries to quickly knife through midfield. The return of Lajap will certainly would certainly portend well for that strategy, which he did. He came in like the 70th minute, but um, we just look so penetrable on defense, really, despite. I mean, this time Matt Sheldon got his first start, and it's hard to discount the idea that Abdul Talif Bakura um, had his best game of the season because he was coming off the left against Matt, and then if he beat Matt, I think if I remember, Shane started on the right side of center defense. Um, or did Shane start in the middle and Michael start on the right? But whichever. If your right back is getting roasted, neither of those guys are in great position from a form standpoint or a quickness standpoint to do a lot about him. So it looked bad. The first goal he scored was a pretty tremendous bit of skill to beat a guy and um, uh, put that shot on goal. But that's professional football. Like the other guys are playing too, and you know we came back. I guess that's a positive. When we were down 2-1 and we didn't collapse, we fought back and got a goal off a rebound, I think, and then couldn't hold the lead again. So, like, it's better than not getting any shots on goal. So, at the very least, if the trend line is going down, it's there's a gentling of its angle, right? We're leveling off a bit. One hopes, uh, but at the end of the day, it's still 0 points against a team that had uh, never
It's the
beaten
first time beating us.
us, and a team that like you look at the roster and think, okay, well, we've we should win this. um, if I'm looking at the two rosters and kind of roughing in my head what they're making, I think you know, we've got a bigger payroll budget than they do probably. Um, and uh, I don't know. It's
That,
I
yeah.
feel like I'm worried that my if I kick the horse one more time, it's just going to sink in. I'm just going to go like right into the horse. It might be so dead it's rotten. So I'm just kind of tired of kicking it. Like I'm just going to leave it there.
So I'll hand it to Adam in for a different angle. Not so much the match itself, but the reaction online during the match, where Saturday really started to seem where I'm seeing supporter discourse really not be happy, really like show
Hmm.
the frustration of what these results are.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm going to confess this to everybody. Like I spent the weekend down in Indiana, doing stuff with my parents, and so I watched the match after the fact, I didn't partake in any of the online Discord. I didn't, have Twitter Blue Sky refreshing. I wasn't paying any attention to it. So, yeah, I watched it late last night and hey.
Yeah, but your take
Yeah,
on it,
fill me
Adam,
in.
because I turn to you for things that go on in that world these days.
I mean, I want to say that things are different now when it comes to this men's team. There are, I don't think that we can be at the same point that we were pre, pre 2022 or even, pre 2020. Um, because these guys are professionals. This is a professional team. These guys earn a paycheck with this, and I think that when you're dealing with a professional team like this, they're not devoid of any sort of criticism that comes their way, and they're getting it now. Um, Today marks the 50-day mark since Detroit City FC, the men's first team, last won a game. 50 days.
Yep.
And during that time, they have lost to a team that they've never lost to before in this past week. They've lost to a League One team. They've had a game where they registered 0 shots on goal. That's the past 3 weeks, or was it 3 weeks? 4 weeks,
Last three
maybe? Past
games.
month?
Last three
That's the
games.
Last
last
three
that's the
games.
last that's the last 3 weeks, yeah.
Um, that's pathetic. That is absolutely pathetic. And I'm I'm at a loss for words right now when it comes to the trying to say how I'm feeling about this men's side right now, just because I mean, you look at those last three games alone, and um, not only are you arguing that this is, that Pittsburgh game was maybe um, one of the worst games in if not the worst game in Detroit City FC history. But I mean, are we perhaps looking at the worst stretch in Detroit City FC history? And you sit here and you wonder, like what is next? Like, what does the next 2 weeks look like? What does the next 3 weeks look like? What does the next month look like for this team right now? And does that next month look like the past 50 days? And if it does, then I think a lot of people need to start asking themselves some real questions on and what this team is going to be this year. Because right now they have lost their identity. They have lost their identity of who they are and what they have been um, for the past 5 seasons, really.
Yeah.
And that's not good. That's not good. In everything that, and at this point right now, I mean, everything that has happened earlier on in the season when they were playing well is completely gone. It is completely gone. I mean, the only thing that we can take from that is the fact that, yeah, they are still clinging on really to a playoff spot in the East. But you know what? There is still, at this point right now, I hate being pessimistic about it, but I'm not looking at this as a situation anymore where, hey, they've got till, you know, October to put themselves in a really good spot. Um, and to get when they get into the playoffs. At this point right now, the way things are going, the way that we are looking at this and trying to take like any type of positive out of just the complete and utter dog shit that this team has been, the only way that I can unfortunately look at this is how much more can they fuck things up moving forward? And I don't want to think like that.
Yeah.
But everything that we have seen so far, these past 50 games,
50 days.
yeah, 50 days, sorry, has
Feels like
given
50
us,
games.
yeah, it feels like 50 games, have given us no reason whatsoever to be optimistic about what the next 50 days are going to be like. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the next three matches are Miami, Oakland, and Hartford. Okay, so you're talking about Miami, who are improved, but obviously not considered a juggernaut, and then Oakland, who already fired their coach for being terrible, and Hartford, who are worse
Hartford
than
before Oakland, yeah.
yeah. Is it? Did they change
Yep.
him?
No, Hartford's League Cup on the 28th.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't have the league cup. So we play Hartford twice then, because we play
Yeah.
them on the 12th in the league. So I mean, we've got a very soft next four matches, um, and what we need to see is us picking up a lot of points here. If anything, like the current form continues as we play Miami and Oakland and Hartford, like then we got real problems. And I mean, you have to start, banging the drum to see who's available, right? Can't change all the players. It's rough old business. But man, the I don't know. I'm flummoxed by the lack of quality that the midfield has shown. I think that at this point we've sort of like what happens. It seems to me is that we've sort of gradually dynamited the confidence of many individuals within the team, and but all of that began with the build out scheme not being up to the task of handling a man-to-man press. Um, and that sort of started shaking everyone's faith in the leadership, and then the leadership, instead of saying, holding up their hands and saying, look, our bad, we're gonna work together to fix this, didn't, like, stayed remote and weird. And um and since then we've been watching the confidence of really all the players gradually sink into the soil. Devin's the captain in Stevie's absence, and I think his time as captain has been singularly unhappy. I think he's ready to hand that fucking armband off like pronto. So I don't know. Vibes are bad, bro.
You
Um,
know, Sean, real quick, one thing that, well, I don't know, maybe I should mention this towards the end of this men's segment. So go ahead, Sean.
I mean, I I don't at this point. I'm not sure what I would do if I were Danny with the midfield. Jay has obviously sort of uh, lost his mojo. Ryan has struggled with injuries and didn't look amazing in this match. Dom is okay but limited, and
Teams are
limited.
going after him. Teams are
Right.
going
Well,
after him.
yeah, limited in a way that exactly that that quick attackers really like to punish, and he will, like, the thing is he'll learn from that. Like he just needs to get he needs to have a plan for the ball the moment it arrives, because he's not going to get a second touch, and he needs to figure that out. Um, but that's the thing, is that people, teams know they can kind of run at us, and we don't have the ability to turn that aggressiveness against you. Um, and maybe Lai getting healthy will help that. I mean, he is good at that, and is a guy who, his there's the guy that his, like, turn and then run thing he does through midfield is kind of like what Gravenberch does for Liverpool, where they press him and he turns away from the pressure, and then instead of like getting the ball off his feet, like takes all that space, like just kind of runs it forward into the attacking zone. And that's what Lai will do, that if he's healthy, so that will help a great deal. But at this point, you look at what we produce when we get in the attacking third, and you know it's lost that crispness that you really need to create goals consistently. So you know, the thing is, form is fickle, right? We go out against Miami and get a fluke goal and then get a good goal and start feeling really good. We can kind of blowtorch through this like soft part of the schedule and come up against Pittsburgh at home in a league match, in the middle of July, having won four in a row and feeling pretty great. So, I would love to see that. But I don't have a huge amount of hope that's what we're about to see.
And on the Miami end, this is a better Miami team than last year. So if they win on Saturday at Keyworth, they're a point behind us, with a bunch of other teams just smelling Indy, Pittsburgh, Rhode Island.
I mean, you got to
That
feel
are,
like if we lose to Miami FC at home, like it'll be like alarm klaxons, everywhere.
yeah.
Because isn't is this the this is the doubleheader match, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you're imagining the guys go out and somehow will conspire to lose against Miami FC, and then the women come out and establish complete control over the Great Lakes division by beating Ann Arbor at home, and the fortunes could continue to be, I could see that really being the way the fortunes continue to be, but hopefully it's a double win day and we're all 6 points and we're all happy.
One thing that I'm also increasingly worried about is I think the vibe is real. The vibe is real, and um, I just kind of worry about like the overall outlook on this team when it comes to, and I'm thinking way ahead right now. I'm thinking ahead to the off season, and that's what these past 50 days have done to me. Um,
You had a great insight on 451 on Tunnel Talk late in the week last week to talk
I did.
about this. Yeah, I thought you
Oh,
did.
I don't even remember. Um,
Off season and who'd you bring back?
well, not that. I'm not going to go into that because
A lot of football left.
there's a lot of football left, but I'm worried about the outlook of the team when it comes to attracting players and how things are currently operating right now, um, from a football standpoint. And because we talked about it a couple, was it last ever 2 episodes ago, the communication issues and
Yeah.
just the overall vibe in the locker room right now. Because if this continues, what happens to the offseason when it comes to trying to get players to come and play for Detroit City FC? Because we've seen, and this is something that's very real that happens in professional sports. We saw it with another professional team here in Detroit with the Detroit Red Wings when everybody was wondering, why doesn't anybody want to come to the Red Wings? They're an original six team. They are a
Mhm.
storied franchise. Why
Right.
doesn't anybody want to come here? And it
Insanely
turns
committed, passionate fan base. Like, yeah.
exactly. And you could sit there and name, you could make a connection, with all those bullet points right there with Detroit City. Obviously, Detroit City is an original six in NHL team, but Detroit City FC is a very well known lower league team in the United States here who is building a new stadium and is probably very much going to be a Division 1 team here in the next 2 or 3 years, when USL gets that Division 1 sanctioning. But when you're looking at the Red Wings, it was, oh, well, it was Mike Babcock and the way that he ran things in the locker room and the whole vibe just being killed from that standpoint. I mean, you had guys like Johan Franzen sitting here, um, after the fact, just going off to the media and talking tremendous amounts of shit about Mike Babcock and former players coming forward about it, and just
Yeah.
the vibe of the locker room being one of the main focal points of players not wanting to come and play for the Detroit Red Wings. And that's just something that worries me right now is the vibe, the footballing vibe of Detroit City just becoming poison and toxic when it comes to trying to attract players to play for this team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, where it's going to make the difference is in the players you really want, right?
Yeah.
With the players who have a lot of options, and if you aren't an attractive culture, um, there's a couple things that happen. First of all, the people the more emotionally stable players, the ones who could potentially lead the locker room back to stability and unity, are going to veer away from that. They're going to look at it and go, I don't know, you know, like I don't want to have to do all that work. You know what I mean? They want to join a place that's like kind of vibing and feels good, and
Hmm.
they'll contribute to furthering that. Um, and uh, the other thing that happens is that then conversely, that means you're selecting from a pool of sort of people who do not have shining A plus personalities. You know, they're not. So they're going to be you're basically pulling out of players that are slightly more selfish, slightly less team oriented, slightly less sort of pro social personalities, and that can really make the mix very complicated in the locker room. There's a reason that clubs that a lot of clubs that have a choice will exclude a player like that entirely from consideration, regardless of how gifted they are. Because football is, the most team of team sports, and you
Hmm.
really can get, you know, if I guess the exception would be a striker who you just sort of insulate from the team entirely, and everyone knows like this guy's an asshole, but he could fucking score,
Hmm.
and they just ignore him. Um, that's not the situation that City have. City have a problem where players are wrong-footed about something that they feel was not just good but just, and uh, something to fight for, right? So to have a workplace and a development environment that is really committed to open communication and furtherance of everyone's goals, and like not a fostering place for jealousy or contempt, but whatever. And then to find it like that's just kind of out the door because the new boss man isn't into it. Like, you know, if that was my workplace, I would be pissed off and fight for it, um, and say things off the record behind the scenes. Like, yes, I would. So I don't know. I mean, yes, that was like 12,000 words to say, yeah, you're right. That is a problem. Uh,
I think for me, it's Adam. You talked about being a vibes team when they've, and I think this season has been the results have been based on vibes. When the vibes are great. They can have the confidence and the ability that they feel like they can match up with anybody, at least give anybody that they're playing with a great chance. When the vibes aren't there, they will struggle and make mistakes. They'll turn on there. When the vibes are horrific, we have this run that we have here where we've given up 12 goals in 4 matches. I'm going to name the last 7 matches
wait,
that we have.
I just want to say that I don't think we've reached horrific. Okay. I don't like, we're talking about three points in 7 league matches and 3 points in 8 total matches. It can get worse. Like if we get 0 points over the next 4 matches, that would be horrific.
So let me
Um,
name off the next 7 here
okay.
because I think this will be. I don't want to say these are season defining, but to me, it's pretty damn close. So we got Miami this Saturday, 4 p.m. at Keyworth. It's going to be warm, so sunscreen, folks, if you're going to that.
Real warm, like
Real warm.
like mid 90s. It's gonna feel
There's
like
also
Miami.
yeah, there's also the friendly a few days later. 8 p.m. Wednesday, which is supposed to be a high of 95, 96 right now during the
Mm.
day.
Hmm.
8 o'clock kickoff against
You're playing a
Santos
team from
Laguna
Mexico.
Liga MX.
Right. Like Prish.
3 days later, you have Jägermeister Cup at Hartford. Week later, you're at the Oakland Coliseum taking on Roots. And then you're home to Hartford on July 12th. You're home to Pittsburgh Riverhounds. You have the League Cup final group stage game, which, depending on how the Hartford League Cup match goes, could decide if you're moving on or not. At Rhode Island on August 6th, which is midweek. Home to Indy 11 3 days later.
It feels like we're playing the same teams we just played. You know, like
At
we
North
just played
and then
Indy, we
at
just played
North
Rhode Island, we just played Pittsburgh, we just played Hartford. Like we're playing them all again.
and for the first time this season at North Carolina, who are currently ahead of us in the table.
Thanks for blowing my synergy there.
All right, bud. I'm channeling. So these seven league in particular, I feel like, will really give us an idea, I think, of what to expect for, because I believe after those seven, we will have 10 league matches left.
Yeah, that's I have a feeling this next game could be season defining. I mean, like Sean was saying, I mean, if they end up losing to Miami at home, then I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about the vibes. And do we bring back our vibe guys? Do we bring back Armando and Jimmy Filerman to bring back the vibes?
The Vibe Kings,
The vibe kings.
they're back in the house. I mean, so I'm fine with it. You know, it's not going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, that's I think
Get stumped there.
yeah, I mean I'm not looking that far ahead, Garrett. I'm looking at this weekend and
Fair.
what's on the table in front of them and what needs to get done. They need to take 3 points against Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
And I'll take it a step further. They need to look good doing it too. I don't think it can be one of those ones where they get like a lucky goal in the 87th minute to put them ahead. I mean, I think they need to have a strong game against Miami and come away with
Frankly,
3 points.
frankly, if they get a lucky goal in the 87th minute and win because they kept a clean sheet, I would be all right. Like I just want to see the defense look like our defense again, please. Because that to
Fair enough.
me was it's like, well, they'll never take our defense. Oh, damn
It's
it.
like a getting back to basics type of thing for Detroit City
Yeah, I'm
FC.
sure. I'm sure that's the vibe in
Yeah.
training and stuff, and it should be because. Sorry. Go
All
ahead.
right. Do we have anything else we want to add on this, or do you feel like we've compiled enough misery upon ourselves talking about this men's team so far?
I'm good.
Adam?
Yeah. I'm done with them right now. Nothing more needs to be
So
said.
so let's transition now. This is back now part of our regularly occurring theme where we, channel the absolute pits of despair and climb our way out to beams of radiant light
Right.
and fantastic moments. And that is Detroit City FC's women's side, who are that match day 6 last Wednesday. In some call it Romeo, some call it Washington, Michigan, depends on what your Google Maps say or Waze, whatever you use to get to that, to get to 29 Mile and Jewel Road. Union FC Macomb was the opponent.
Yep.
Evening fixture. Sean Spence. I had the absolute pleasure of watching the match with you, and shout out to BJ Jasinski as well.
What a BJ.
And a two really competitive teams. Ebbs and flows throughout the match. A hard fought match. one of multiple matchups of importance in the Great Lakes division. We'll talk about the other matchups. We thought we were the only ones really paying attention to the match in where we were at. I'll explain later on. But in the end, in those ebbs and flows, saw Detroit City FC side with a good first half, and take the lead via a great Sophia Roman goal. Kind of have the second half be taken over by Union FC Macomb, Amelia Villarreal. Great individual moment run, finishes at 1-1. You're thinking late in the match, might be honors even. Corner kick one to Detroit City. Sophia Roman takes it, kicks out to like either edge of box or just outside it, headed back into the box. Ella Kane literally took like a calm breath, was chill, and then just backheeled it in from close range. And that decided it. Union FC Macomb 1, Detroit City FC 2. AFC Ann Arbor hosted Kalamazoo, which turns out Detroit City was also eyeballing during the match too. I love that. Absolute sicko energy. I love it. Kalamazoo takes 3 points at Hallway, 1-0. We are level points wise in the Great Lakes division, folks. Sean, let's get into it.
Right. So really interesting match. Union came into the league with a lot of really splashy player announcements, and we got to see most of those players last Wednesday. In fact, Lily Bosley started at striker against us. I don't know if you realize that, but that was I think number 4. Was playing as the target striker all night. That was Lily Bosley. Number 44 was Amalia Villarreal, which she's basically the captain of the United States under-17 youth national team. Led them to a gold medal in the recent CONCACAF championships and scored a bunch of goals. I guess it was maybe last summer. But I mean, this one's she's incredibly good. Okay. And yet Detroit City controlled play through most of the first half, largely with the press. They're playing they play the 4-4-2 kind of Brazilian 4-4-2 that asks so much of the attacking midfielders. They have to cover the width, they have to do so much running. But when you've got Sophia Romine, I can't remember who played alongside her. Was it? I think Hannah Crum was up top, right?
I think it was called Smothers, Abby Smothers.
Right. Okay. So they're covering a ton of ground, and Union, despite having pedigreed players, really struggled to play through the press. And then they gave up on that for a while and started bombing it to Lily Bosley, and Lily just could not beat our center backs. She could win the ball in the air, but then like once she brought it down, our center backs would just swarm her and take it away very quickly. So that didn't work. And we eventually took a lead. It was kind of a scrappy game offensively for City, not a ton of possession, because Union presses very hard as well. Both teams both teams were good at breaking up play. The City goal came like halfway through the half, I don't know, 22nd minute, something like that. And it was, Roman on kind of a half broken play. Like we had turned the ball over, they turned it over, we turned it over, they turned it over. And that was when it came to Sophie. And
Great play by Kate Childers to set up Sophia, not even taking it on the touch, immediately feeding it to her.
Right. Yeah. She just kind of like she won the ball, and with the touch that won the ball, like fed it to Sophia and like fed it to her on her running foot. Like it was just inch perfect. So Sophie was able to kind of just wheel in on goal. Like it went from being a neutral situation to being a really bad situation for Ann Arbor very quickly. And then her shot was, she shot really quickly. She sometimes she really wallops it, but this is more of a she scuffed it a little bit and she got it off quickly, and I think it was a little bit screened because the keeper didn't react very
It caught us
astutely.
off guard.
Yeah, it was one of those where it's in the net and the player's accelerating before the crowd is. The crowd's like, yeah, she, it's kind of a scrappy shot, and I thought it would be saved, but the keeper didn't get a good read on it, and kind of it got under her, under it, and it was, it was well aimed, at the near post, so. So 1-0, fantastic. And at that point we played the rest of the half with them just getting increasingly frustrated and having a hard time getting the ball into the final third at all. Right. We go into halftime that way. City kind of just says, all right, let's keep it rocking. And the Union came out with a completely different idea what they were going to do. They were going to play direct to Amalia Villarreal. They were going to completely like give up on keeping the ball at all, and they were going to, with every touch, try to forward the ball to their superstar and just have her do it. And it fucking worked. Like
Yeah.
it sounds really dumb in some ways. So you're like, come on now, that's like playground stuff. But playground stuff works when you got a playground player, and
Their
uh,
tactics too, I thought, meant that we
it,
weren't keeping the ball as much when because we were having to deal with that press so much.
right. Well,
That
I think it was more like they really went to a 4-5-1, um, and had Amalia up top, like really isolated. And so we struggled to figure out what to do with that. Should we keep all four? Should we keep two back? Like, should we keep the box four back, like the middle? But then we don't have enough pressure on the. It's like we're kind of opening up holes whatever we do,
right.
and it really it's such a cool thing to see our women have to grapple with a tactical situation, because that a lot of times, a lot of times you just don't see it. In the women's game, the teams come out in a certain way, and they don't make big adjustments like that. Um, and this was really, you could see the cities coaches like put their heads together, like, okay, whoa, this is different. They're all like giving each other suggestions. Um, but the goal when it came was just Villarreal, being great. We had successfully handled several, kind of acts of daring do on her part. I think we had at that point we had subbed in. What's her name?
Cameron Evans
Mira.
came on.
No, no, Mira. That's who I'm talking about.
Oh, Mira Webster.
Right. She was playing right back. Um, and Mira, Mira's quick and an outstanding defender. But Amali Villarreal is kind of different gravy, and she was just able to kind of turn her a little bit. And it didn't need a lot of room to get a shot off from what I thought was way too wide. But I mean, she stuck it in the side netting. It was just one of those where you're
Inch
like,
perfect.
well, shit. If she could do that, I guess that's kind of rough. And the rest of the match, it was pins and needles every time she got on the ball. But to Ella Karolak and Katie Murphy's credit, they were really, and Kate Childers. The three of them really made things difficult every time she turned inside. Like, they were willing to let her make assists, but if she was going to shoot, they were going to put the wood to her, and they made that stick. It was looking like it was going to be 2 drop points. Um, and I want to talk about the corner, which was pretty special because it was a planned play. Right, this was not a planned play that broke down and it still worked, which is just crazy. Sophie Romine laces it into um, Katie Murphy, who's standing out in the D, alone. She's kind of way back of the mixer. Um, and Katie heads it to Ella, who is at the back post, Um, but Ella is really surrounded. She's got like two defenders, like a defender marking her. The keeper is not far from her, and then she's got someone who's on the post also. Um, so she's, it doesn't look. It's like when I saw the header going into her, I was like, my heart was sinking. I was like, oh, you know, that's rough. They got that covered, you know. Um, and then Ella, like it to me, okay, I wish I could see it more clearly on the replay because I can't tell what she does. It's so far away. But when
It's
it,
like time paused.
when I saw it in real time, it didn't look like she backheeled it. What it looked like she did is she like kind of scorpion kicked it. She kind of hit it with her cleats. She hit it with the bottom of her foot and just kind of like pistoned it in. Um, it was one of those moments where it's just about like being quick and clever and improvising. And Ella won that. Ella Kane won that match and won that moment in the same moment. Like, with that little bit of inventiveness, like incredible. And that is the kind of thing that makes you start thinking about a team having like a destiny. Um, like, because Ella had a pretty frustrating match. I think it would be safe to say that she did a lot of running for not a lot of reward, but she was still in it and like icy cold and wired in, that late in the match, despite all that running, despite all that frustration. That's pretty special.
Yep. And I think, especially when you look at the performances that she's put on, really since like, and I think going back to the Midwest game, really solid, consistent performances, close to getting goals throughout all of them, Midwest and the Kalamazoo. So to finally get that goal in that moment is fantastic.
Yeah.
And when you look at also like just the how what that means, especially with Kalamazoo winning in Ann Arbor and Midwest and Toledo split points too. So
Yeah.
we have
Well,
a two-horse race.
yeah, and I'm starting to like this is the part that I'm about to jinx everything. So jinxie, jinxie, jinx, here it comes.
Hold on, let me knock. Let me
Like
knock on something. There
yeah,
we go.
okay, I'm looking at this team and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I think we're starting to see the the first 11 come to the fore. And the women who are going to try to carry the flag into the postseason. And what I'm talking about specifically is the pairing of Kate and Tatiana Mason at in the deeper midfield spots really looked excellent together. They bring different things. Kate, is has a ton of range. She's quick. She can do a great outlet pass, and so that really frees up. Like she covers so much ground that Tatiana can just like freestyle and like find space. And she is incredibly smart and clever with the ball. And like a lot of quality. Um, Putting the ball forward into for the four attackers to do something with, right?
Yeah.
She plays useful balls over and over again. And I mean, and then when you add the fact that Ella and Katie are looking increasingly sort of comfortable with each other and understanding each other's strengths in a way that is incredibly promising. I'm hopeful that even though some of the teams we might face in the playoffs are daunting, thinking about Minnesota, um, uh, you know,
Oh, Aurora. Yeah.
yeah, and there's others. The fact that these other teams are daunting doesn't mean like we should consider ourselves underdogs. I think that this group of women has some swagger and some quality that can really do some shit, and I'm very, very excited to see how it goes.
So we have one thing. Dave Dway, he did give us as always, thanks to Dave for his time in the post match recap on Wednesday, which you can see on the Majors TV YouTube. Busy day for him because University League had their state semifinal that he came from Waterford.
Yeah. Spent the second half in
So
the. You got there at halftime, I guess, and spent the second half up in
yeah.
the booth.
So Nate, Danny Evans, coaching staff, ran it from the touchline. Kate Childers is going to be out. Sounds like for this matchup upcoming a couple days from now at Midwest. Got a report to Minnesota. Check in with the school. Should be back for Ann Arbor on Saturday. So how that will be addressed in the set, who will be slotting in for there, we'll see. For that one on Wednesday.
That will be interesting. Yeah.
But Midwest United's next, June 18th, in Kentwood, just outside Grand Rapids at Midwest United's complex. 3 wins in a row.
So it's probably in the evening the day this comes out, right? This probably comes out on Wednesday.
What do you think, Chief?
I'm going to try to start on it tonight. So.
Oh shit! Never mind.
Hardest working supporter in the Detroit City FC game, man.
I don't want to put more on Adam's pile. Goddamn.
No, we're good. I want to try to get it out as quick as I can, and so yeah, I'm gonna try to get it out tomorrow. Well, we really don't have a choice. It is going to come out tomorrow, and it's not because of us.
Right
it's
now,
because
I feel like the boss of the street urchins or something.
No,
like,
no,
no,
not at all, not at all, Sean. Because there is a game. There is a game this Wednesday. It has to come out tomorrow. That's the reason why.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be out. It'll be out tomorrow. Probably around. Yeah. So that's the reason why it has to come out tomorrow. I mean that's the thing. That's the thing that's the thing with these short weeks and these quick turnaround Wednesday night games is, yeah, you gotta get it out as soon as you can.
So I mean, with Midwest, 3 wins in a row for Detroit City FC over them. 2-0 the last time on May the 31st at Keyworth. The last time they played at Midwest United's complex in June of last year. A 1-0 City win via Tatiana Mason. Kalamazoo host Ann Arbor at Mayor's Riverfront Park also on Wednesday. So, and then immediately after that, 3 days later, Detroit City, Ann Arbor.
I'm sorry. Can you hear that?
Pony boy.
Yeah, he's crawling all over me. It's like it's time for treats, Dad. It's like squirrel.
Dad, you talked about soccer enough. When am I getting to eat?
Exactly. Like we're past an hour, Dad. This is ridiculous.
So we right now going into this, Detroit City FC, AFC Ann Arbor are level on points. Detroit City FC with the better goal difference, Ann Arbor with the tiebreaker. Obviously, both teams with big matchups on Wednesday, difficult matchups. And then they face each other Saturday, June 21st, Keyworth Stadium, the second of a men's-women's doubleheader in the evening. Look, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to channel, I feel like, it's a hot day. It's a warm day. We talked about that earlier for the men's day. So I understand if people, are like, I can't do 2 games at Keyworth. I get that. I'm kind of thinking the same way. If you're going to choose a game to go to, the women's game's at 7. You need to be at Keyworth Stadium in the evening for the women's match against Ann Arbor. Sorry guys, you need to prove us wrong against Miami. 7 p.m. women's match. Maybe the decider for the Great Lakes SC, unless Kalamazoo win again, and then we might have to talk about Kalamazoo potentially being a dark horse. But
I mean, as long as we keep winning, we got it. It's in our hands.
So
by we, I mean the women who comprise the team of Detroit City, not me, of course. I am.
Oh, and us, Sean. We.
Their day. I'm there day after day in training. Making it all happen. So I'm going to take my flowers here.
Something that also undertaking flowers. Last week, we kind of ranted about the initial news of coming to season ticket holders about a potential bus trip for the final regular season game going to Kalamazoo. It was defer. It was announced on Friday through the circles that that is no longer happening. So, I mean,
We killed
yes, the
fan
women have to.
participation. Yay.
So the women have the ability to reverse the curse, but we are not trying that. We are not in the mood to try that shit right now.
Yeah. Like we got to be sure of some things here. And I doubt we'll roll into that match needing nothing from it. Like we'll probably need at least we'll probably need a win. We're probably going to need to win out to win this.
Yeah,
Um,
so and then after Ann Arbor is Toledo Villa next Wednesday at University of Toledo, Paul Hotmer Field on June 25th, and then 3 days later at Kalamazoo. So it's a lot of
yeah.
good football.
Yeah. I mean, these teams are all good. That's the thing that really makes this great is that, like we could lose any of these matches. We could lose all of these matches.
Yeah.
It is not, these matches are not without jeopardy for us. And, you can look at Toledo Villa and say, okay, well, 6-0.
They've
But
gotten
I mean,
better though.
that was their, this is their first year. That was their, fourth, fifth match. They'll have several more matches under their belt and they'll be playing at home. So, it's a trap match for us. Like it's a classic kind of one where you might go out and throw up a stinker. Think about the match we played, some of the performances we put up in Cleveland over the years. When they really weren't good, but we'd still go out there and kind of just like.
Cleveland was a great home side though last year. We were one of only two teams to not lose there last season.
It was 2 years ago that Avery got the goal that like kept us from losing that match, right? Like that was the year they were just terrible, and
That was at Flint.
no, it was not at Flint. This is at Cleveland. It was one of
Cleveland,
the
we won 2-1-0 games. Maybe
it,
Avery scored the first time in that. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because it was one of the matches where the broadcast was through the glass. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that one. And the
that
window
one was
wasn't clean.
Right.
that one was great because supporters kept on complaining about the window not being cleaned, and then they actually cleaned the window because of all the blowback happening on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
We played Cleveland 3 times that year.
Yeah, that was a weird year. I mean, USLW like shifts and changes every year, but it seems to be growing, steadily year on year now. So, like, no worries.
Adam, I want to get you in on this discussion. How are you feeling about this going into the final four matchups after what we experienced with Union Macomb, what we got upcoming this week with Midwest and Ann Arbor, especially sort of watching with Kalamazoo Ann Arbor on Wednesday?
Like Sean mentioned, they have their own fate in their hands. I mean, it's you keep winning and you're in.
Yeah.
And that's it's a great thing to have at your disposal at this point in the season and moving forward because it sucks. It sucks having to rely on other teams to, punch your ticket for you. Like what was it, a couple seasons ago when we had to rely on Sacramento
Russell
Republic
Cicerone.
and Russell Cicerone to score that goal against, ironically enough, Miami FC to get City into the playoffs. And lo and behold, what happened that first round? They knock out a historically good Pittsburgh Riverhounds team in the first round. So,
right, yeah, that's often forgotten is how good that Pittsburgh team was that we like they were like a missile, like we're gonna fucking do it this year, and then the first hurdle was like nope,
yep. And remember,
meet our 19-year-old homegrown player, yay,
yeah. And City drew Pittsburgh that week prior. Just to have Russell Cicerone put him in that position to win.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that's exactly it. That's not an ideal situation you want to be in, and especially this past Wednesday, and Romeo or Washington Township, a place where City has had a very historic venue for Detroit City FC.
Way of describing it.
We have history there.
Yes, it was one of those games where Detroit City went in there, weathered the storm, because that was very much a must win for Union FC Macomb, and City weathered the storm, even with all their, those players backed for Union, and they got the victory and can look ahead now to Midwest United as another one of those games where, hey, we just need to keep this momentum going, and we'll be fine.
Right. I mean,
So,
like, I can't stress enough how much it really is us and Ann Arbor in the running for, like, because it's win, you got to win it or you're out, right? Midwest has already dropped, like, they played 8 matches, they've won 2.
mhm.
Right.
Okay. So, like, we should be heavily favored in this match. Now, we just played Midwest and we know that we're not really heavily favored against them, right? Like, oh, they're pretty good.
We
um,
got talented
so
players.
so we're gonna need to play well to get all 3 points there. And then obviously are gonna need to play well to get all 3 points, on Saturday. So this week is really the week for our women. These 2 matches are the matches that determine whether we're sort of storming into the postseason or whether we're scrapping around and hoping for breaks and seeing what other people can do.
So, real quick, just because we're a couple of weeks away from this all, I want to tell people, like, again, with the format this year, to what to, for a couple of weeks from now when the regular, provided that Detroit City wins out and they win the Great Lakes division, there is no best second place team anymore. Because of the Great Forest division, there are 4 division winners. It's the Great Forest division, the Great Lakes division,
Yeah,
the Heartland division, and the Valley division. The
right.
Valley this year is a little bit surprising because normally that's Indy 11. Kingshammer United, Kingshammer FC, who Detroit City played at Keyworth June of 2022.
Yeah.
That was such a
Um,
bad game.
Cincinnati Club.
yep, the Cincinnati Club, Covington, Kentucky, I believe, to be exact.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, okay, across the river.
yep, they have played fewer matches than Racing Louisville and Indy, so they currently lead the Valley on points per match, which is a decider for who's in the top right now. They'll have 4 matches to go. In the Heartland, I mean, Minnesota Aurora is perfect right now. They're 8-0.
Yep.
They've scored 23. They've allowed 1.
Yeah, they're
Um,
they're they're one result away from clinching it. Like anything but them losing and Riverlight winning out means they need to lose twice, and
yeah.
Riverlight need to win out. And unless let me see if Riverlight play them. Hold on. Okay, no, they've already clinched it because Sioux Falls is the only team that they play now, and Sioux Falls can't catch them. So it's going to be Minnesota Aurora from Heartland.
In the Great Forest division, there are currently top right now, although they've played 2 more matches than 4 of the other teams in the division, is Pittsburgh Riveters SC, who is the um
The River
the win.
Hounds
Yep.
W lead team.
Yep. They have a 6-point lead on Steel City FC, who are out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I believe.
Okay.
And then old NPSL foe FC Buffalo are in third with 10. But it is Pittsburgh's right now, and I believe because they have 6 teams. No, they have 2 matches left. Okay. They are at FC Buffalo on the 21st. They actually played tonight and beat Erie 7-0. So, yeah, so they are pretty close to wrapping things up in there. So,
Like they only have 2 matches left, and Steel City has
4.
4, and Buffalo has 4, and Buffalo plays them, and Steel City plays them. So I mean, like they still need to do well,
Steel City are at Cleveland Wednesday.
and then play Riveters, and Buffalo play
Yeah, they're home and
Riveters,
they're
and then somebody
home to
else.
Flower City before Pittsburgh and Buffalo.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is like there are pathways for these teams to get back in it.
Yeah.
It's much less clear how this is going to go than it like the fact that everyone has pretty much played the same number of matches at the top of our league means it's a little easier to compare. Yeah, when you get, Pittsburgh's way ahead of everybody.
I
You
want
look at
to.
17-11, you're like, wow, 6 point lead, and then you're like, oh, okay, but with
Yep.
2 games in hand and they're about to play this team, okay, well, it's not as glad as it looks.
Cut and dry. Let me ask you two this question. Um, Say Riveters take the Great Forest. Last year, Detroit City FC hosted the Central Conference Region playoffs, 4th of July weekend. I know Minnesota Aurora was really making a pull for it. I mean, they were the top seed in of the four teams that were in there. If Riveters win Great Forest, because they play at Highmark, I think they play at Highmark also, and City take Great Lakes, who gets it? Keyworth or Highmark for hosting?
I mean, they might give it a high mark. That honestly, I'd like them to give it a high mark so that we can't have any like that when our women like stomp everybody that it isn't. There's no crying about it. Like, oh, of course they always play at home.
Oh yeah, because we beat Indy, and there was some bitching
Right.
about that.
Like, oh, yeah, it's not fair. Like, okay, well, I mean, fields, I would say the field's the same size, but of course it's not really. Our field is actually a little bit smaller, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Detroit teams
Uh,
have a history of winning in the playoffs at Highmark. Just saying.
yeah, Aurora are the, you know,
Yeah,
they're the, what is it? What it would be like 11 to
bees
10.
knees.
They're the 11 to 10 favorite, the one that's like, well, you get your money back if you bet on them.
You might lose money if you bet on them.
Yeah. So, I mean, but at the same time, we don't know exactly how deep and banging that conference is. Although Riverlight made the playoffs last year and were, good. Well, we beat them, but they were good.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no reason in my view that if we get our stars turned out during the postseason, why we shouldn't be considered to be a threat to go to the Final Four yet again.
So much is happening, folks. 7
Oh,
o'clock Saturday, Keyworth Stadium, Detroit City FC, AFC Ann Arbor. Like we said, this is the main event. This is the one to be at here in this doubleheader. And as always, to the women, thank you for being the beacons of light that you have been. May it continue.
thank you, women, for existing.
Or as the title of the last episode of 451 Tunnel Talk was, Girls Rule, Boys Drill. So let's get into the do we want to have anything else we wanted to add, gentlemen, before we go into where people can find us? Sean?
Yeah, I am weary from my travels and ready to sign off.
Adam, what about you, man?
Just real quick, I want to just give some props to the Detroit City FC women's side, the coaching staff. They've just once again have been doing a phenomenal job,
Yeah,
top to bottom when it comes to recruiting, getting these players in, and again, we've mentioned it before of just the challenges that this crew has when it comes to and it comes with any amateur, when you're dealing with working with amateur players is having to deal with just the footballing side of it. Then you've got to deal with, and at this point right now you've got to manage parents, you got to manage college coaches, you got to manage
right,
um you know
right.
the other national coaches.
Right. Well, I mean, it takes good relationships with all those coaches to keep those
Yeah,
players available
Yeah.
for, I mean, if you don't have good relationships with them, they'll just be like, nah, fuck you, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't have to talk to
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. And then, this man, just trying to, again, and you also have to try your best to, make the players happy. I mean, you're not going to be able to make everybody happy, but you've got to manage that vibe that we've talked about too, because the vibe is still very much a thing when it comes to amateur teams as well. So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah. I
think and I
mean,
think Dwayne and uh, Danny and Nate, like you're saying, Garrett has they've all done
Archer,
really,
yeah.
yeah, just they've all done a phenomenal job these past couple of seasons, and um,
yeah.
it's a joy to watch them. You know,
So say all of us. Sorry, I just started rewatching Battlestar Galactica. So.
Uh, so yeah. Where is the Pride Razor total at per goal right now, Adam?
I don't know. I should look, and I don't
Bro.
know. I'm just
Oh no, I'm just
saying.
saying, Garrett, if you're gonna drop that, look it up yourself, man. You got the internet.
I'm about to do it right now.
Drop it. Adam, this is like 3 weeks in a row that Adam's like, I don't know, like click, 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 click.
It
Looks like
is. It's
this.
becoming a good bit. It is becoming a great bit.
Let
All I
me.
would say is,
People used to have that link that was like a let me Google that for you, and like if you followed it, it literally typed in the thing you asked about.
yeah, bro, Google's free, man.
That was when Google
Garrett.
worked, when it wasn't
Google's
fronted
free,
by an
bro.
AI like shit machine.
We
Um,
are at $1,345.69 per goal.
so yeah, there's still a lot of work to do. We're midway through June now. I will say I want to, thank you to everybody who came out to the tie-dye event this past Saturday, and tie-dyed some shirts. It was a lot of fun, and so that's been it was a cool event last year. It was a cool event this year. We've got the doubleheader coming up on Saturday, but also come and pay us a visit at Berkeley Pride on Sunday. I think that is happening between noon and 4 p.m. NGS Cares will have a tent there. I will be there. Uh, Jam will be there. So um, come pay us a
Hydrate,
visit.
sunscreen.
Yes, hydrate, sunscreen. Um, and come visit us at the tent while you're hydrating and sunscreen. So it's a cool event too. Berkeley Pride is really, really fun. Um, it's cool because it's not like this massive Pride festival like Ferndale Pride, which is like complete, just like wall to wall people, and you got to deal with all the stressful logistics that come with going to any large scale festival. It's like, oh, it's like the Ann Arbor Art Fest. There's the stressful version of an art fest
Right.
in Ann Arbor, and then there's the less stressful one in Plymouth. So I think that this is Berkeley Pride is the less stressful one, where it's
You're
real laid
you
back and
you have
what.
a biased take about that art fair, sir. That's in your backyard.
I do, but that's the point though, is I do have a
Yeah.
bias take, and it sucks having to deal with it that whole week here in Plymouth, but it is very much the more laid back of the art fests in the area. But Berkeley Pride is really really cool, and if you want to experience a more laid back, it's on a smaller scale, then come out and pay a visit to the NGS Cares at Berkeley Pride between noon and 4 p.m. this coming Sunday. So,
So with that said, echoing Adam's thoughts, shout out to everybody on the women's team, including the coaching staff. Shout out always to Dave Dwayhe. Shout out to our buddy Jared for doing the film work. Wednesday for the recap stuff at Romeo. Um, and yeah, I think that's essentially it. May the good times continue onward. Shout out also to the 451 Tunnel Talk crew. Look for an episode for that
Mm.
one around the weekend. All right. Sean Spence, we
What?
mentioned that you are a the father of cats, Ponyboy, is excited for you to be ready to be done with this.
Right. He's like,
Where
take your headphones off and feed me, you fool.
where should folks send the cat pics to, and where should folks subscribe to?
Send cat packs to Shield Chafing at on Twitter through Gmail, I guess, if you're like into email chains of cat pics. I don't know. I don't want any freaky cat pics. Okay, I just want fun, cool cat pics. Yeah. I'm strongly in the don't fuck with cats category. Um, let's see. Words About Shapes is Patreon/Words About Shapes. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. This is professional. I feel good about it. Yay, me.
Adam, what about you, bud?
As I look for my cat pick this week to send to Sean,
Looking.
I actually saw a bumper sticker that did say "Less people, more cats" on the way home today, or I
Yeah.
was on the way to work. But either way, it was awesome.
I'm just hoping we're grooming them to be our evolutionary successors. That's what I'm hoping for right now. We're just, you know, so many videos of cats like just sort of snuggling birds and stuff because they don't think of themselves as predators because they've never been predators. They've lived inside and eaten food all the time. uh, it's crazy. It's wild. Like, okay. Yeah.
um, uh, find the Major Detroit at TMS Next Detroit on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and the whole gambit of social media platforms, as well as YouTube, youtube.com/the majors TV. Make sure you like and subscribe there, but also make sure you like and subscribe and leave a 5-star review on any major podcasting platform for Make City Make Spence, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can
Right.
find me at TMSNX Detroit or TMSNX Adam, excuse me, on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. But again, Make City Make Spence. Make sure you please 5-star review any major podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just because, like I said, it helps. It helps, spread the word on the podcast, and it gets more eyeballs in front of it. So please, please, please do that.
Eyeballs, ear holes,
Exactly.
eye holes,
Eye
ear,
holes.
ear balls. I don't
You
know,
can find me
man.
Twitter, Instagram, Discord at GM Comats, Blue Sky at GM Comats.bsky.social, and follow Channel 451 on YouTube at Channel 451 Detroit, 451DET on Twitter, 451DET.bsky.social, and yeah,
Wow.
451DET at gmail.com because we haven't gotten emails in a while, folks. But yeah, it's been fun, y'all. Things to be happy about, things to be sad about, such is life. When we gather next time, we will be talking about the continued experiences of the men's team and the women's team, made as the beacons of light that have been the women's team, and if the men's team can emerge from their deepest darkness right now. Garret Comat's here. As always, thanks to Sean Spence and Abba Hernandez and all of you for checking out another edition of Make City Make Spence. Till next time, we go onward, caw, and meow.